Okay, so I was reading National Review, and just there had been just a um, concatenation of Jonah Goldberg's pieces on Trump, and it just got to the point of where I felt like I needed to say something here. Let me first say, Jonah Goldberg is a person of integrity, I believe, a smart man, a writer of wonderfully kind of nerdy, wonkish newsletters, and he's written a lot of strong academic-minded books, which, if you follow my book reviews, I will get to, which I've enjoyed and thought that they were, had an intellectual heft to them. But he just can't quite get over his never-Trumpism. Jonah, if you're out there listening, you need the 12-step, I was a never-Trumper. Okay, I'm going to reference something he wrote, and then we're going to go through it. And, he writes, candidate Trump publicly called on the Russians to keep hacking away at Hillary Clinton's emails. Don Jr. and the entire senior leadership of the Trump campaign took a meeting with a self-declared emissary of the Russian government to get dirt on Hillary. Trump's campaign manager, currently in prison, worked with Russian-aligned oligarchs in Ukraine. Various campaign peons and hanger-ons were eager to cultivate relations with Russia. Really, Jonah? I mean, again, usually you're a font of just objectivity. But let's break this down. You actually referenced Trump's joke that the Russians should find Hillary's deleted emails. Wow. When did you become so humorless? What is the purpose of this comment? Do you think the Russians took Trump's prescription to heart and decided, tovarish, yeah, this we will do, spasiba. Going further, was it even a bad thing that the DNC emails were hacked and released? What did they actually tell us? That Hillary was saying one thing to Goldman Sachs and another thing to the American people? That our campaign was being fed info on debates by CNN? That several MSM mainstream media reporters were acting as secret mouthpiece for her campaign? That there was some condescension in regards to Catholics and a few other things? In other words, what was revealed was the truth. I mean, were you for releasing the Pentagon Papers? I applauded these revelations. Remember, this wasn't some hacking of a private individual's life. These were public officials who were in many cases engaging in unethical behavior. So your first assertion is utterly obliterated. On to the famous Trump Tower meeting, a meeting that was suspiciously surrounded by two meetings by the Majinski woman, by Glenn Simpson of Fusion. She was at an event before she went to Trump Tower with Glenn Simpson, and then she was at a dinner party like the next day with Glenn Simpson. He, of course, assured Congress that he really didn't talk to her. He was down on the other side of the table talking to someone about like some Colombian biography. Oh, okay, just by coinkydink. New York's not a big place or anything. Anyway, okay, we both know, talking like Jonah Goldberg, we both know that campaigns of any stripe will take dirt on their opponents from any source. Right? The Trump campaign was simply amateurs and didn't know how to use like a cutout, someone seemingly unrelated to the campaign, to vet the info. And importantly, to deny a relationship if there was any blowback. Okay, this is even an episode of The West Wing, for Christ's sakes. Sam gets tricked after President Bartlett makes that fake off-camera thing about his opponent having like a 22 caliber mine in a 44 caliber world or something. So there's like pushback on it. Anyway, long time ago. Good show. Okay, ironically, more proof of this, though, is in how Hillary's campaign handled their dirt digging expeditions, right? How did they go about it? They filtered it through the DNC, then the Perkins Cole law firm, then through Fusion GPS, who then hired a foreign national, Christopher Steele, who then, when they were being pressed about the provenance of the whole dossier thing, they had to go to court. It was like 9 months before finally like the DNC gave up and said, oh yeah, we did pay for it. Okay, so see, Jonah, cutouts so as to keep the campaign clean. Criticizing Trump over this is simply pointing out that he hadn't learned to be as conniving as actual politicians are. Weak sauce, buddy, weak sauce. So your second point just went up in flames. Now you're on to Manafort. Manafort, great. Wasn't he working with Podesta's brother with these same Ukrainians? Sure, Manafort's sleazy Washington guy, and everyone in Washington knew this. The Trump's campaign sin again was being innocent of the Washington swamp. I mean, the guy, not a co-conspirator was mentioned in the affidavits, the indictments brought against Manafort was Tony Podesta, I think, because John Podesta was Hillary's campaign manager. Okay, whose lobbying firm has, of course, since gone under because Hillary didn't win, so they don't have any actual influence to peddle. Okay, third, and perhaps most desperately on Jonah's part, the comment about campaign peons and hanger-ons. Really, Jonah? Really? Do you think Carter Page and George Papadopoulos are bad guys in all this? Do you think they got what they deserved? Carter Page actually helped the FBI corral 2 Russian spies a few years before this whole thing. And what did he do? He gave a speech at a conference. Well, when one is trying to make deals in energy markets, you might give speeches at energy conferences. Go figure. Papadopoulos is an absolute zero who gets suckered into traveling to Europe. The payment by that Halper, who was a CIA or FBI plant, gave him like $3,000 to come to England, write a paper about, I think it was like Turkish oil or something. And then when he goes to meet Halper, he gets the old honey trap. Halper's there with some hot chick, okay? And then there's some unproven conversation by the Australian ambassador that miraculously gets leaked all the way to highest levels of our intelligence apparatus, right? Carter Page, George, they are victims in all this, okay? Finally, you claim that the American intel has confirmed that Russians did help Trump get elected. Okay, yes, but absolutely no. Russian trolls, there's like 13 indicted, and of course they live in Russia. They're never going to be actually extradited or anything. Russian trolls posted Facebook memes of puerile quality. I realize that last phrase may be redundant. 90% of these posts were not campaign related, but instead encourage people to turn their Pokemon games into racial activism. Okay, you can't even make up this foolishness. In no way did Russians change one mind, one vote. And if you're worried about Russian interference in Americans' bodies politic, you do know there's a whole cable channel that millions of Americans can watch called RT that is essentially the mouthpiece of Vladimir Putin. I remember maybe 12 years ago when I first became aware of RT, I watched it for an hour, and I was like, oh wow, the Russians still hate us because it was still very anti-American. Way to go. Let's keep that Soviet spirit alive. But yeah, the Facebook meme, you can go look it up. Look up for Hillary with devil's horns arm wrestling Jesus. That was one of the Facebook memes. Do you really think that turned the tide in Wisconsin? That there were people going, wasn't sure about this election, Hillary, Trump, I'm on the fence. But now when I realize that Hillary is going up against Jesus Christ, I got to go Trump. Also, take a look at the picture. If I was better at this, I'd post it or something. Jesus is pretty yoked. He's like MMA Jesus. He's kind of got gloves on too. So, Hillary would totally lose with that. Again, here, Jonah Goldberg, say it with me. I'm Jonah Goldberg, and I'm powerless over my never-Trumpism. That my usually cogent analysis is hopelessly skewed when it comes to Donald Trump. I need to look to a higher power to restore my sanity in regards to Donald Trump. Maybe like Victor Davis Hanson or something. Go to a meeting, get a chip, and let the healing begin. Have a good day.